I mean, सबसे ज़्यादा modern company तो तुम ही चला रही हो in terms of women, in the women space. Many years later, when I finally Wikipedia or Googled what Siddha meant, it meant something very different. It meant the enlightened one. Since kindergarten, I have traveled as much for school. But I think that is the defining moment of becoming who I am. I used to control कि आज हम ये गेम खेलेंगे इस टॉप से इस टॉप तक. Then I used to play that game. So I think that was like a very good time. I think I got to be creative with the spaces that I was in. Yeah.
When I started for the first time in 2014, colony ki aunties were like, "Hi Bitchaari, she's starting alone, unmarried hai." It quickly went on to becoming badi tez hai, bitch type ki, about something they had no idea about. And I realized then that this is the life of an ambitious woman, living in the spectrum of bitch to Bitchaari, our opinionated, ambitious Bharatiya Nari.
Hi, welcome to the 6th episode of the Bitchaari Podcast. I have Siddha with me today. She's the Chief Business Officer of Bombay, one of my favorite brands, because I think I use everything that you have, be it razor, be it menstrual cup. I think I've also tested it before you launched it. Yes, exactly. And you are actually changing. I mean, सबसे ज़्यादा modern company तो तुम ही चला रही हो in terms of women, in the women's space. So glad to have you here, because honestly, I know that I have many times come to you for advice because you think in a certain way, and I love that because it's very structured, it's very problem solving, it's very and of course that's the background you come from. You come from Bain, you come from IIT Bombay, you come from an IIM. So तो तुम बताओ मुझे अपनी कहानी, like where does Siddha come from, and where do all these dreams and ambitions come from? Where were you born, brought up, and where did you study? Firstly, thank you for having me here. The admiration is mutual, and I told you when I saw the name, I was like, sometimes name create what the brand is going to become. I feel that for Bombay, I saw Bitchaari, and I see that vision of being super cool. So kudos on doing what you're doing. Thank you. Where does Siddha come from? Yes. So, nomenclaturally, if I have to go about it, I think Siddha, and the way my mom at least explains naming it, etc. And I'm going to start with etymology first. I think that defines a lot of what I do and what I am. Is that since childhood, my mom used to say that Siddha means to prove, like Siddha karke dikhana. And I think that has been one of the founding ways of how I've been raised by her. I think I remember as early as I was 2 years old, she kept telling me what my name meant. I think because I used to be curious, because everyone used to ask, what does your name mean? It's not a normal name. It's like, to joke, I say it is Siddharth without the meaning, without the earth, etc. But so I think that's how I would like to start in terms of beginning. So from childhood, it has been kind of on a journey to prove. Many years later, when I finally Wikipedia or Googled what Siddha meant, it meant something very different. It meant the enlightened one. And I'm like, Mom, I could have been a very different person, but now look at what you made me. You made me this hyper-competitive person. But jokes aside, I think that's how I like to associate myself. I am from Nagpur. I was born in kind of a place which is almost on the borderline, on the outskirts of Nagpur. Raised by my mom. Came from very humble setups, and yeah, so I think one of the defining moments of my journey would have been that my mom decided to put me in English medium school. I think बहुत ही simple है. Yeah. आजकल के बहुत सारे लोग लगा इसमें क्या है. Yeah. But I think for someone who's not seen that kind of privilege, I think that one decision, and I think she was very persistent about if I were to give one thing to my child, it would be to ensure she goes in an English medium school. Yeah. And उस टाइम पे नागपुर में 2-4 ही बहुत
famous school stay, and I think in the second most famous type of school, she got me admitted. It was like 25 kilometers away from home, but I travel since childhood. Since kindergarten, I have traveled as much for school. But I think that is the defining moment of becoming who I am, because I believe that 4-5 decisions होते हैं लोगों की लाइफ में जो over time बहुत course change करे. So I think this was the first pivotal decision.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's how the journey has mostly begun. Since childhood, I've generally been a good student. I call myself a time-pressured topper. I have always been very mischievous. Teachers used to either love me or hate me. Like there was no mid. But I think that's there today and well. Like generally people also.
Yeah.
So that's how the journey began. Pretty good as a student, but always very mischievous. I used to study on the last. I told you this before also. मैं एग्जाम के एक ही दिन पहले पढ़ाई करती थी, एंड मेरा एक ही एजेंडा होता था कि मुझे अपने क्लास में फर्स्ट आना है. मैं पूरे सेक्शन में
Such a simple agenda.
बहुत सिंपल था, किसी को अपने क्लास में फर्स्ट आना है, क्योंकि नहीं तो बहुत पिटाई हो गई. मतलब जेन्युइनली माय टीचर यूज्ड टू से सॉरी इन एडवांस इफ दे न्यू कि मुझे कोई इसमें कम नंबर मिले, क्योंकि उनको पता है पहले ही कि उनसे तो मेरी मम्मी मेरे मतलब स्कूल ले लेगी. Literally like there have been 5-7 teachers who are probably, I'm sorry, but they got like 90 out of 100 if maths. I'm like, oh my god, now what do I do? I remember, I'm not even kidding, once in 4th or 5th standard, I got 93 out of 100 in maths, and that was my lowest. I mean, it sounds weird, it was my lowest score. I was so scared that I wrote a letter before going to school and left it at the house कि मैं जाऊंगी, मम्मी पढ़ेगी, थोड़ा एब्जॉर्ब करेगी, गुस्सा ठंडा करेगी, and so that when I'm back, she's not like, doesn't get super angry. So I think I used to I started studying out of fear, I think a little bit. Not fear, but out of not wanting to disappoint my mom, because for her, like, English medium school में जाना, first आना was a big thing. So I really, like, I used to do a lot of time pass in school, because that was my time to just be free, be myself, etc. In the setup or the surroundings that I used to be living in, it wasn't a very safe in terms of outdoors, etc. So I wouldn't go out and play a lot.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, it was like for a single mother and her single daughter, it was just not a great place outside. So we're very constrained inside the house. So school में time pass करना, bus में दादागिरी करना, like literally I used to think of myself as the Robin Hood. And because I used to live so far, I used to be the first to enter the bus. So in general, bus में the currency of supremacy is how long you spend in the bus, right? So it's really like दादागिरी. I used to control कि आज हम ये गेम खेलेंगे इस स्टॉप से इस स्टॉप से. Then used to play that game. Then and I had this, like, I think that was a side of me, and I always wanted to entertain people. So I had devised some 7-8 games that you otherwise play on ground, but you can play in the bus, like Nadi Pahad used to be benches and the base, so the Pahad and Nadi. So it was very fun. And then we used to play dumb charades with that tie nikal ke, aankh mein choli and all of that. And so it was a lot of...
you were innovative with your games.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think that is another angle. I think if I look back now, I was very scrappily creative, which I didn't realize for a very long time, but I've realized in these things, or when at home, I knew that I wanted to play, but I didn't have the conventional sources and means to play. So I remember I used to, like, make drawings, cut them out into puzzles, and then assemble them myself. Like, so I had my own, like, puzzle and all of that. So I used to do these very self-खुश रखने वाली चीजें. So I think that is also something I'm very grateful for, because at a very young age, I broadly knew how to entertain myself, because mom used to, like, work throughout the day. So I used to, like, and I wonder these days, actually, parents get very worried that the kid is alone at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
nanny nahi hai. But I find it astonishing. I'm sure there are enough reasons
Yeah.
for you to be worried about
Yeah.
it. But because my best time, and even from a very young age, have come from the 3-4 hours I just had me to the house. And I've done everything. I have taken my mom's sari and I've draped them in stylish forms. I said, Miss India, thank you, acceptance speeches and everything. So I think that was like a very good time. I think I got to be creative with the spaces that I was in.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's... I don't know if this answers your question.
No, it does.
Yeah, but
It does. It really does.
This is where I'm from.
It does. There are two takeaways from this, right? Until now, whoever I have interviewed, always use this word privilege. One is that you said you don't come from privilege. I would love to know more about that. And second, strict mother. I also have a single mom, as we all know, as you know. Why strict? Why was your mother strict? And why do you think she was strict? Her definition may be different. Your definition may be different. So answer these two questions for me.
I think if I have to put myself in her shoes, I'll answer the second question first. If I were to put myself in her shoes, I think for a single parent, and I'm sure it would be the same for your mother as well, I think if they have to play both roles, right?
Yeah.
Being the good cop and the bad cop is a very complex role if it needs to be played in the same person. Like, it needs to have that, वो गाना अरे जा रे हट नटखट एक मिनट लड़का आता है एक मिनट लड़की आती है and all of that. It's very difficult in real life, right? So I think that would be one very primary reason to ensure that in the resources that we have and the opportunities that we have, I make the best out of it, right? I wouldn't have gotten a second chance. I remember, like, when I was in 7th standard, there came a time when school की fees इतनी बड़ी हो गई थी कि we couldn't pay. And तब तक मैं same school में थी. School is a place where no matter where you're from, especially at that time when you didn't have like the stresses of internet and so on, you could really be homogeneous. Like,
Yeah.
But of course you could notice that, this person is so and so, etc. But that was a place when people who came from much better places than me, and I stood a chance. So I really enjoyed that. So we went and spoke to the principal, and she said, and kindly so that, and I think 7th is close to 10th, so this 7th से they start thinking कि अच्छा 10th में हो सकता है ये लड़की अच्छा करेगी and all of that. And so she said कि we'll fund 50% of your fees and all of that. So I think वही सब चीज़ है. Like, it wouldn't have come if she hadn't, and of course there are ifs and buts, right? I could have also said कि naturally भी शायद मैं ऐसी होती, या maybe मैं ज़्यादा curious होती पढ़ाई लिखाई के बारे में, या मैं और extra curriculum में whatever होती. But I think it helped create a foundation of what she thought would lead to a better life. Whether it leads to a better life is then upon the circumstance, the person and all of that. But I think for her, that English medium में पढ़ना, अच्छे marks लाना would be a deeper unlock to life, and
Makes sense.
that happened. I do think I have privilege relative to where I come from, in the sense that I have been able to get out of that life.
Yeah.
But I know everyone, even in like my mom's side of the family, etc., pretty much have not even gotten out of that sub area in Nagpur where they've been. So relatively, I do feel that I have that privilege. But of course, it has come with hard work, kind of also removing myself emotionally and mentally from that space and all of that. So I do feel some of that, and of course, privilege is relative. So maybe less privilege than most, but a lot of, when I genuinely feel where the baseline was, within that I feel like a whole lot of privilege. And it's a lot of things aligning at the same time, of course, backed by strict mothers and hard work, but mostly on account of some decisions that me or others have taken. Like my principal, so the principal allowing
50%. Yeah.
off was a second decision. And again,
Of course.
none of these, and I've told you, none of the decisions in my life have been decisions that I have taken. The only thing I have done is to question and probe one step more. So one thing I tell myself, it's okay if I don't decide, but I must question
Why?
any change that's happening. So that's sort of the fundamental way of how I operate. So yeah,
That is so interesting. No, so in fact, while you were answering about the question about your mother, you already answered the question about privilege, because you said that at some point you were in a position where you would have been out of school had your principal not given you the funding, right? And imagine
yeah, totally.
that is not privilege.
Yeah. Like 10th standard to someone telling me कि JEE कोई चीज होती है, I think अच्छा आप कह रहे हो तो सही होगा, and all of that. So I don't remember many things from past life generally. Like मैं हर 5 साल में पूरा भूल जाती हूँ कि पहले क्या हुआ, बट ये 5-6 चीजें याद रहती है. But I think this was one interesting.
So you've actually touched upon, well, a topic close to my heart. What does it, how is it to be brought up by a single mom? How does it affect your life? Do you question not having a male figure? What was it like? How does it affect your life as a woman, I would say?
It's a very deep question. Let's structure this.
Let's structure it.
So there is a professional, then there is personal, and then let me call the third thing, which is spiritual. Let us break this into these 3 parts. I think in the professional side of things, it has helped me be very unabashed. And of course, it depends upon the person who's raised you, etc. But my mom was extremely fighter. Like, she wouldn't take no for an answer. She actually fought with everyone, which was very frustrating. And I used to tell myself that I will not be so feisty, but I think I am. But I think what it really makes you feel limitless, because you've not seen her actually intimidated in at least a home scenario, right? You are only intimidated by your mother, but you. So I think that unlocks a little bit of what you think your potential is. Again, this is all subconscious. I'm saying this very totally now, but I would have hated certain things of the way those things would have manifested. But I think one thing in the professional front is to just be more limitless in your approach, or be a little more elbow grease and all of that. That is one. I think second is you also see her managing the full household by herself. So you see multitasking, like, be it financial. So there is no, again, I don't know at that point of time whether the financial math, etc. was right or not, or whatever, right? But you see her managing finances, you see her driving down to work every day, you see her cooking for you. So she's taken on so many different roles. So I think the managing of a household, and if I take that to like managing anything, I think that general holisticness of your personality, I think, increases. So I think, for example, she would when she would be cooking, etc., she would tell me what she's doing. Like, she would tell me कि ना इसको ऐसे काटती हूँ मैं, etc. And she wouldn't ask me to do it. Of course, I would sabzi तोड़ दो, etc. and all that. And I'm actually a very good cook now, and I think it's a knack. I'm better than my mom at cooking.
Wow.
She accepts it, but
achievement unlocked.
But the thing is, and it's not that I picked it up while I was there, but I was just like, she would just articulate what she was doing. So I think as a passive isme only I learned a lot, etc. Or be it, I remember once when I had a fight in my local, we moved up thoda sa into one locality where I could actually go out and play. So one day I came and said, this person beat me, etc. She said, जो घर के बाहर के issues हैं, वो घर के बाहर खुद solve करके आओ. So it's a very small thing. But there are two things, right? One is you manage your own business. तो मैं खुद ही कुछ कमर घुटाई करके आ गई कि now I have gain redemption and all of that. But I think the second part of like managing things is to like take care of your own problems, solve them yourselves, and then don't come back home with them. So I think generally being a better manager of multiple things is the second thing that I would take from it. And I think the third thing would be like, it ties with the first thing, but it's a little different of it, just long-term view and perseverance. It is insane. Like my mom had we realized when I was in 7th, a lot of things in my life have happened in my 7th standard. Interesting. I'm realizing right now.
Welcome to my therapy couch.
Yeah.
That's what it's. But what happened in the
So I
seventh
think in
grade?
7th standard, my mom and like her, she has 3 other siblings,
Yeah.
not close to anyone for multiple reasons. They realized that they inherited a piece of land from their nana. And the moment they realized, actually forged, 3 of them wanted to sell.
Yeah.
So they forged my mom's signature and sold it off. Because my mom said, I don't want to sell. I think she just wanted to oppose whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
I don't think it had a lot of thought into why I don't want to sell it. Because at that time, each person was to get like 3.5 lakh rupees, which was a lot. Like, so that's when she read. And since then, to 7th standard say, this court kacheri ka chakkar started. I remember I used to write these applications, used to go to corporation offices, submit those. And of course, on the other side, the people who they had sold to was like a builder, etc. So they had a lot of might, but she just found a lawyer who wouldn't like take bribe and all after like multiple hits and tries, and she just persevered. And now, finally, I think 5 years back, she's gotten possession of the land.
Wow.
Actually, building ऐसे ईंट बाय ईंट एक रूम बनाया है हमने, फिर उसमें दूसरा रूम बन रहा है all of that. And this is the first time we have owned anything in our life, right? So I think उतना मतलब कब से 2002 से अभी 2000 ये जो घोसला मेरी मम्मी बना रही है, which I again
Yes.
I don't believe in property ownership in general as a person, but what I really take back from that is she really had a perseverant long-term view. So yeah, these 3 things like limitless approach, managerial outlook to things, and having a slightly long-term view to life. So yeah, these were the professional side of things. Personal side, I think it would be a little tricky. I do feel that people who are not born or who are not surrounded by a balanced or traditional sense may balanced couple, I wouldn't call it imbalanced or anything, don't know what a male-female romantic relationship is like.
Yep.
So I think for me then the benchmark becomes SRK, right? मैंने सिर्फ टीवी में देखा है कि एक romantic relationship कैसा होता है.
Yeah.
And I have just been seeking that. Genuinely, like कि ऐसे ही चाहिए, नहीं तो नहीं चाहिए. So I think what happens then in life, especially, and again, this is after realizing. So एक तो you would, even when I was a kid, I used to have a lot of more guy friends.
Yeah.
Then I would have a girlfriend. And the friend wouldn't be like mere age ke. They would be like 7-8 years older or 10 years older, etc. So if I look back, I think what I really was seeking was a balance of comfort and a bhai is, if not a father, but like a brotherly figure, etc. Who I would feel ki would add some calm and strength or groundedness.
Yeah.
To myself. So I think that is one thing I've observed on a personal front, is that benchmarks or lack thereof of what male, female, romantic relationships, etc. have impacted a lot of the relationship decisions I would have made. And I think that plays a very interesting role, and I don't think you get over it.
Yeah.
But I think you just over time, now I'm realized it. So now I'm just more cognizant of it and so on. So I think that is one big personal impact of
Have you had relationships? How have... No, because it's interesting because I feel you there. I completely get what you're saying. I think there is no example, right? I mean, I think even like marriage decisions get impacted by the kind of relationship your parents have. And when you don't have one of those parents, how do you make those decisions? So what is your view on marriage, long-term relationship, having a male partner? What does that look like?
So again, this has evolved a lot over time. In my 20s, because I didn't have this, like, I didn't have the construct of, I had never seen what a family is like. It was just me and my mom. Of course, we are a family, but I had never seen what a holistic, in the traditional sense, family looks like. So in my early 20s, मेरा only like career तो ठीक है, हो जाएगा. But my genuine decision, I want a house, and I want like a spouse, and I want kids, etc. And all that. Like, the role of a man and the need of a man in my life has evolved a lot from my early 20s to now. Early 20s में genuinely मेरा एकमात्र एजेंडा था. करियर तो ठीक है होता रहेगा, बट पति, बच्चे, घर, जैसे उदय चोपड़ा बीच पे नहीं सोचता है वैसे टाइप का. By the time I was 27, 28, I was like, पति होना हो, मुझे बच्चा चाहिए. Because I have seen my life, etc. and all of that. And then now I genuinely don't know if I want either. That is how the view on marriage has evolved. Now this is of course independent of relationships. I don't not want relationships, etc. in my life, but the role, etc. थोड़ा fluid है, not sure as yet. But also because of the lack of a relationship in my life right now that I'm saying this. हो सकता है कल मैं डेट करने में बोल नहीं है तो वही है. So I would love my husband, I love my boyfriend. But I do love. I am an extremely romantic person. But I'm a very all in or nothing kind of a person. So if I go into any relationship, I'll just be like 100% in. I don't know any other way. I think ये early 20s में कर लेते तो थोड़ी गलती हो जाती है, because I don't think men at that time are ready for a 100% in person, and shouldn't be as well. I think all my relationships have actually been again. मेरे लाइफ में सही में कोई भी चीज़ मैंने खुद की वजह से की नहीं है. मैंने फर्स्ट ब्रेकअप के बाद मैंने कैट की पढ़ाई की क्योंकि मुझे डिस्ट्रैक्शन चाहिए था, एंड मैं फिर IIM चली गई. तो आई रियली ओ अ लॉट ऑफ माई प्रोफेशनल अचीवमेंट टू माई एक्स. Genuinely, I'm not even kidding. It is genuinely it takes a village to raise Siddha. That is true. So I think marriage, etc. has evolved. B, in terms of relationship, the approach is generally all in nothing. I don't like to change that. And I don't think relationships or moments of romance can be manufactured. And I've always gotten into relationships very organically when I was in college, both of the colleges, etc. and all of that. So मुझे ये dating, waiting जो ऐप पे करके करते हैं, ये मुझे नहीं समझ में आता है. जेन्युइनली फील कि सामने बैठ के अगर बात हो के अच्छे लग रहे हैं तो we can continue talking and then we see how it goes. I have not been able to ever successfully even navigate a conversation on an app. To people who are doing it, please tell me how to manage it, because I can't. I think I hate texting in general.
Okay.
So maybe that.
Right now you're single.
Yeah, I am single.
ये ट्रेंड चला आ रहा है मेरे को लग रहा है. Women leaders in their 30s always single forever.
हमारा वो नहीं रंगने बसंती में, बट हो सकता है अब पता नहीं डायलॉग किसने एग्जैक्टली बोला. आई थिंक चंद्रशेखर आजाद सेज मेरी दुल्हन तो आज़ादी है. तो मेरा भी ऐसा है, मेरा दूल्हा फिलहाल बॉम्बे है.
But that brings me to a question, right? Because I like to answer it for myself every few months. If I had to ask you, what is the most important thing to you today? Anything. What is that most important thing in your life today?
I think generally the most important thing is to be stimulated. I mean, it's not a thing. I am not a huge fan of like earning a lot of money, etc. and all of that. Of course, I want to live luxuriously and everything. But I think being stimulated in general is most important to me. So be it small things like exercising or traveling or be it at work.
Yeah.
I'm actually a classic कर्म करो वाली पर्सन.
फल की चिंता मत करो.
मैं बहुत ज़्यादा वैसी हूँ. तो मैं एक्चुअली बहुत ही, हो सकता है ये गलत भी है कि फल की चिंता कभी कभी करनी ही नहीं चाहिए, वो क्या रहा है, बट आई एम अ वेरी input first kind of a person. So I think being stimulated is important because I really believe in the journey.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And I think input करते रहो, compound तो हो ही जाएगा, इतने तो मिल ही जाएगा सब कुछ life में. Yeah, something interesting you said, right? That सब कुछ हो रहा है life में. You're not probably going after it, but no decision is taken by you. It happens, and then you maybe are used to questioning some things, but it happens. IIT has happened, IIM has happened, Bain has happened, Chief Business Officer has happened. Tell me a little about that. How has your professional journey, even education, like, of course, you've gone to the best of schools, right? It doesn't happen. Tell me a little about that. How do these things, these magically luxurious things and amazing things happen to you?
99% might be my effort, but I genuinely believe कि कहीं भी जा सकती थी चीज़ें. And like I'll give you like 7 examples and you will be like, सिद्धा तुम ऐसे हवा में नहीं बोल रही, you genuinely mean it. Annually, every time, I used to be the second in the entire division. It would be a person. There was a girl called Shrutika who actually went on to become a very good friend of mine. But in the days, rivals and all that. So we hadn't even spoken ever. And I was generally a very outspoken person. I used to like compare assemblies and take part in debates, etc. All that. And those time the debates will be like the rate debates. Not like I'm properly debating. It is just I'm preparing an extempore and all of that. So my general thing would be to like AS defined by school extracurriculars and be second in the division, which as long as I came first in class was okay to mount. So this had always been the case. So consistent. I think one consistency is something that I think has worked out for me. But something very interesting happened in 10th standard. 10th standard में सब लोग ट्यूशन लगाते हैं, सब लोग, even everyone. I actually was the only person in my entire school who didn't apply tuition because we didn't have money, like more than anything. So I didn't like go to tuition or anything, but that made me have a lot of free time. Yeah, genuinely. तो मैं उसमें और उस टाइम पे लोग ना स्कूल में नहीं पढ़ते थे, लोग ट्यूशन में पढ़ते थे, घर जाके पढ़ते. School used to be very like chill and all that, except a few teachers. So स्कूल में अगेन मैं गेम मैं डमसर आर्ट्स खिलाऊंगी, ये सब करूंगी, और मैं क्लास कैप्टन एटसेट्रा होते तो ये सब करा सकते हैं and all of that. But like that isn't, I think what it helped me do is I ended up having a very wholesome 10th standard without having to ask for it. I think रगड़ना, if everyone was X, mine was XY2. And I think it opened up general brain spaces maybe in a good way. And in the final exam, I actually came first in my entire school. But I still came second, and the more important thing, I came second in the Nagpur district. So मैं second ही आ रही हूँ हमेशा. But where it counted, I came second in the entire district. And what it helped in is actually just get like one name, like paper में interview etc. तो ठीक है. But what helped me do is colleges started coming to me कि आप ना हमारा college join करो. I think there is some swag of having like potential merit for 12th standard in your college, and you can say, you turned out.
This is junior college.
11, 12 junior higher secondary school certificate बोलते थे महाराष्ट्र में. And Maharashtra board बहुत ही like मतलब if you compare CBSE, our textbooks used to be this small and all of that, but used to be very hard rated. Like teachers used to have it. So what it helped do is this. So again, this was an opportunity, or let's say the lack thereof, of like having very busy schedules, etc. Led me to actually be very relaxed, and I think maybe I gave the exam in a very good zone. Um, and when these colleges started coming, they started pitching to me to say कि हमारा कॉलेज ज्वाइन कर लो, जेई की कोचिंग हमारे पास इस सेंटर के साथ टाई अप है, हमारा इस सेंटर के साथ टाई अप है. लाइक दे वुड बी पिचिंग कि तुमको कॉलेज नहीं आना पड़ेगा. एंड आई वाज लाइक, आई हैव नेवर गॉन टू ट्यूशन इन माय एंटायर लाइफ. आई वाज लाइक, ऐसे क्यों बोल रहे हो, कॉलेज नहीं आना पड़ेगा, मुझे जाना है कॉलेज. लेकिन पैसे भी तो वसूल करने हैं ऑन दैट. So then I was like, अच्छा पर जी है क्या?
Yeah.
Before pitching this
Yeah.
to me, first tell me what it is. Then they said, there are these institutes called IITs. Everyone like seeks them out and everyone's preparing for them, etc. तुम engineer बनोगे ये वो etc. But then I was genuinely like, and तब तक I have never, and I like swear I had never heard of this. So I said कि ठीक है, वो अगर 4 intelligent लोग जो actually college चलाते हैं वो आके बोल रहे तो must be
कुछ तो होगा.
And then I just dove in. ठीक है, कर लेते हैं. तो तब से then that was the first coaching I joined, which was like tie up with like the college. And 11th, 12th में for the first time I went into coaching. Again thankful to the her name is Nisha ma'am. I'm still like, again she was another influential female figure that I saw running her own enterprise. Like she run this enterprise called IIT Home. It was the best. अभी तो ठीक है, वो एलन जो भी कोटा वाले सब शायद नागपुर भी आ गए, but at least at that time it was the best, and I'm sure it still is. And it was run by her. So again, another very like woman in STEM, in education and all of that was something very inspiring to see. Again, another act of kindness on her part was, again, we couldn't afford this fee as well. So she again funded 50% of this thing as a loan, and then I could pay back later, etc. So I think these little acts of kindness have gone
because you were a good student. You're missing an important element there.
हाँ, so I think अगर किसी ने मुझ पे इन्वेस्ट कर दिया तो मैं फिर अपना सब कुछ तन मन धन दे देती हूँ to work hard about it. But otherwise I still did not really understand इससे क्या होगा, इससे क्या मिलेगा and all of that. But I really, again, because I'm an input person, I was like, हाँ, this seems like interesting subjects. The classes, finally, 11th and में पहली बार लगा कि कुछ मज़ेदार सिखाने वाले लोग हैं, क्योंकि उसके बाद it was very like रटो etc. and all of that. And this finally one thing that मेरी मम्मी बैठ के मुझे रटवा नहीं सकती है, मतलब I have to just understand and do it well and all of that.
Yeah.
So that's how JE happened. Then JE also happened in some very interesting circumstances, but I will not. Like, I was almost about to not get to give it because there was something that had happened in my personal life, and my mom thought that I am not deserving to go outside of Nagpur. So I literally gave the exam on the day. Like I got to know that I'll give the exam like on the day. No, interesting. But finally, whatever, jo hua, wo hua. And again, I had two options. I had gotten a great rank at AIEEE, so I could have gone to VNIT Nagpur, very easily into computer science. And again, because of this personal incident, I wasn't allowed to apply to any other IIT except Bombay, because my other two friends who were in the same institute, who my mom trusted कि ठीक है ये लड़कियाँ इस लड़की को सही राह पे ले जाएंगी, because they had a much better rank, etc. So it was obvious कि उनको तो मिल ही जाएगा जो उनको चाहिए. मेरा डाइस ही था कि मिलेगा कि नहीं. But I was only allowed to apply IIT. So again, choices are very limited. इन दो साल मैं गई बॉम्बे, मैंने सारे IIT के डिपार्टमेंट्स इन ऑर्डर लिख दिया. I had some 1000 ranks, so I knew I would get something in IITB. But I could have gotten like, at that time, computer science was again like a very big thing.
Correct.
So again, there was a choice. But I was like, मेरे को नागपुर में तो नहीं रहना है. So I convinced my ma'am, the coaching ma'am, to like really advise my mom to let me go to Bombay.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's how like Bombay happened. And IITB, I think, is a place that has molded and shaped me in so many ways. I think that's the first place where I genuinely did extracurricular. It was the first place where I danced, and I loved dancing. I spent my entire 4 years at IITB either dancing or organizing dance events. So, and I made some amazing friends who are still like the wing of mine, and the 5 of us, we call ourselves bitches. So we are subsumed in our name. Our WhatsApp group is literally that. I think those have been like the pillars to who I am, etc. So I think it has been, I became a kid truly in college. So I think my age was 0 when I was at IITB, and today I am like what, 13, 14. So I think that's how my age and my this thing has become. So I feel like very childlike because I was a kid only. There is just start later. So that's how IITB happened. और फिर मैंने आपको बताया कि फिर ब्रेकअप हो गया, तो फिर मैंने कैट दे दिया. मतलब आई वर्क फॉर 2 years, ड्यूरिंग दैट टाइम ब्रेकअप हो गया, तो चलो चाहिए अवे स्पेस, तो मैंने कैट दे दिया, फिर IMB हो गया. तो ऐसे ही आई वाज लाइक, there were like 3-4 very passive decisions by others who have led this to happen. IMB में भी ऐसा था कि I had only like 3-4 interviews. I think I had BL, and मैं तो इतनी ओवर कॉन्फिडेंट थी, तो मैंने 1-2 जगह तो अप्लाई भी नहीं किया. You will go there. So but luckily, again I took a very interesting call in IMB. So we have to write an essay.
Yeah.
These colleges.
Yeah.
So people generally like proper essay, language essays. I made a diagram that like my essay was a visual, like a circuit diagram, and I explained my life in like, ये मेरी बैटरी, ये मेरा रेजिस्टर, ये मेरा कैपेसिटर, etc. and all of that. In the full, I geeked out.
Wow.
And it's not a big thing, but it was lucky that the person who was interviewing me got very intrigued and like spoke to me for longer, because IMB wise, etc. Also my percentile wasn't as great as it could have been. And मैं IML की तो इंटरव्यू में शायद कुछ लेना ही भूल गई थी, जाना ही भूल गई थी. उनको वहीं से उन्होंने मुझे जज कर दिया कि तू क्या लेके भी नहीं आई है. So yeah, so that's how IMB happened. And then IMB में, of course, again, the only thing I do is I do events and organize people and do time pass of all this nature. So in IMB, again, I just lived that dance life a little broader by organizing events. And again, very interesting that the people who I was like preparing for internships at that time, we were all like, I used to suck at these case interviews, okay? I used to absolutely, like now you will think, no, Siddha, you're very trusted and all that, but that's like 5 years of Bain training, but I used to absolutely suck at them. But luckily there were just, and I realized कि मैं 10-12 cases के बाद I wouldn't practice. Like people would practice for 50 cases and all that. Yeah, I realized कि मेरे से नहीं हो पाएगा ये सब. So I practiced for very little, and a lot of my friends were on these hot lists. Hot list meaning कि उनको पहले ही McKinsey का या Bain का या BCG का कॉल आया होता है कि आपको फर्स्ट लॉट में इंटरव्यू करेंगे. तो मुझे ऐसे कहीं से कोई हॉल, and I was like surrounded by all these rock stars who were like hot listed everywhere. And but they would spend a lot of time in just then talking to, because all of these people will then, pursue, seek you out, etc. to enjoy the
You join them, yeah.
Provided you do a good interview.
Yeah.
So I had again nothing of that. The one thing I did just before the next day was I just did one last case with my group, and the outcome, and it was just one learning from that case, which wasn't solved by me, solved by someone else, which I absolutely loved, and I remembered it. And again, the next day when like the interviews etc. were happening, I knew that मतलब मुझे BCG type जाना था, क्योंकि the person I liked, I knew he would get into BCG, like that was his hot list, and he had decided कि मैं ये fight नहीं मारूंगा कि मैं 2-3 interviews दूंगा, I'll just go to BCG and I know I'll get it. But I really wanted BCG, so I had not even made an effort to pursue Bain or anything. Luckily, one person, again, very third party individual who has nothing to do with me, wanted only McKinsey. And हमारे यहाँ ऐसा होता है कि you can't say no once you've gotten an offer.
Yeah.
So he just refused to give any other interview before McKinsey. So उसका पहले Bain में
होने वाला था
interview. ने बोला I will not interview. I want to go to McKinsey. I want to go to McKinsey. And they were like, all right, but we have shortlisted you to give the interview. They are like, but no, please, will you? And Bain is a set of 9 people. So they said, if you don't want to, please let him go.
Yeah.
And this is the first time in our history of Presscom had wanted to. वो hotList का फिर एक slot खुला. And then I went in to give that interview. Again, some other person's very hardcore decision, nothing to do with it. And then I got that opportunity. And first case I did okay. Second case I did really well. The third case was going to be with the senior partner who asked me one problem statement. And for me, like generally लोग के 2 cases में भी हो जाता है, कुछ लोग के 3 full cases होते हैं, 1 or 2 people के 2 cases में हो जाते हैं, बाकी सबके 3 cases लगते हैं. So this partner asked me something which I responded with the hack that I had observed the previous day.
Yeah.
And in one line he said, okay, you're hired, go. So there's so many things of the universe conspiring for this to happen. So ऐसे बहुत सारी ऐसी चीजें because of which I really, really believe in passive decision making by the universe for me. I genuinely do. So
tell me, Bain में you had a female boss, no?
So Bain में there are projects and projects span from 3 months to a year.
Yeah.
So I had a series of multiple female bosses. So my first supervisor was a woman, and then a lot of my supervisors across projects were women.
How long were you in Bain?
5 years.
Wow. You know, it's funny because SRCC में मतलब मेरे college में पहले McKinsey probably was the first company, then one of the first companies also was Bain, and then one of my best friends was the only person who got selected. And मुझे उसकी कहानी इतनी अजीब लगती है because he's like पहले वहाँ पे काम कर रहा था, then he went for MBA and he was like पहले ही had offer. And so somehow when you're in these consulting companies where you have a good experience in terms of the kind of work you do, you just want to be there and not come out, I feel, right? Tell me about your experience. यार 5 साल में तुमने क्या सीखा? What did you take away? And how could you move on to almost a startup? I mean, of course, not as big a company. How do you take that decision?
So, क्या सीखा? Let me cover पहले. So, I think Bain or any consulting company for that matter is a crash course in problem solving and theoretically running businesses.
Yeah.
So, that's broadly how I would synthesize the time there. The beauty of consulting is that it teaches you 3 things. The first thing is that there are only 3 things. That's the first thing, but jokes aside. One is problem solving and the ability to break down seemingly large problems or complex problems into consumable bite-sized pieces.
Yeah.
And then reflect on what would be the root causes or potential answers to the different problem areas.
Yeah.
And then you build it from there. So I think one, problem solving insane. That is a life skill that everyone should have. Like I had to talk to my mom also ever since I've been in consulting. When she like had a bunch of different things to go, I said I always say, okay, so there are 3 things, 1, 2, 3, and then she's like, I'll give you a title. Why are you like problem solving? We are having a conversation, but that's how you get wired.
Yeah.
The second thing is handling different clients. What that really entails is beyond clients, you see how to navigate different energies, different people, different human dynamics, and also like kind of guide the way for them, right? So in consulting, you are not the ones who's accountable in the true sense. Of course, you're accountable for the outcomes of the project in the case and so on, but for the actual business that you are consulting, you're like a doctor.
Yeah.
Business, right? For them, you are that aid or that advisor, sometimes a friendly ear, sometimes a harsh mirror.
Yeah.
So you have to play multiple roles and navigate those relationships to enable them to make a good decision. So I think kind of pseudo-therapist at times, what you are doing to me right now, to also being that critique as needed is
Yeah.
other I think very important thing.
Yeah.
And I think the third big thing that consulting really teaches you is really backing yourself and your hypothesis. Like the ground rule of problem solving is you will make a hypothesis, and as long as it 80% fits
Yeah.
in the direction you are home. So I think it really pushes you to be okay with certain uncertainty. It pushes you to make smart decisions with limited information, but in a very thought through manner. So I think these are the three big things. I genuinely feel it's a crash course in businesses. So it's like a finishing school.
Yeah.
So unless you want a PhD in problem solving,
Yeah.
your life or at the firm. But if you have assimilated information, knowledge from this crash course and you want to apply it, I think it is a disservice to the outside world if consultants don't go out and build other businesses by themselves, because they're insanely talented
And equipped.
to run those. It is just that, of course, that true real world or skill in the game might be a little limited, which is also changing now with the kind of ways the problems and projects are being structured. But I think it's a huge disservice to society if consultants don't go out.
How many consultants do you think go out and kind of start businesses? Do you know many from your circle?
So it was very few earlier in the first 2 years of my career, but now, for example, from my batch, 70% of the people have left. It could be to start their own businesses or to be parts of different businesses. Everything is fine. It's just that real world application and elevating the level in whatever place you join is something that you owe to the business world. So I think a lot of people are doing that. You see the landscape changing. You see that consulting earlier used to be one of the most coveted jobs, but for time, the landscape shifting. A lot of big companies are as coveted. But I do feel that it's a toolkit, either through experience in consulting firm or by yourself, one should definitely have. I think it's a life skill. It's like, for me, it's more important than learning how to drive and all.
But tell me then how did Bombay Shaving Company happen to you? While, of course, you were at Bain, I'm assuming.
So yeah, while I loved my time at Bain, and I still am very, very grateful, and I have had wonderful mentors and wonderful colleagues there, I realized in the first 1 or 2 years that I am broadly, like I spoke about being naturally creative before.
Yeah.
So I generally have a creative inclination, and I think I shine a lot when that coincides with business or problem solving a lot more. So in the early days of my time at Bain, I used to solve that by managing Bain events, like be it offsites, be it, we call it karma, is like ensuring culture, etc. in the organization is set and all of that. So I used to do a lot of creative things in the ancillary side of work.
Yeah.
To the extent that actually 3 years into Bain, me and another friend from IMB, who was also a colleague at Bain, she also had a similar bent. Her name is Nidhi. The two of us actually started a wedding planning company on the side, just to harness
the creative side.
And all of that. So we did a bunch of like 4-5 weddings in Goa while working at Bain. It was an insanely hectic but very rewarding experience.
What was it called?
It was called Vivid Viva. So there's color and vividness in everything. So yeah, like we did a lot of like proper like weddings. In fact, the first wedding I did, and she's the only person who can trust me. Like trust someone who's a newbie and who like come from consulting and buddy, whatever. So she's my best friend, Neha. She trusted me with her wedding, and that's the first wedding that we did, and it was a grand success. Till this point, I used to only there was no real currency to say that I was creative
or entrepreneurial,
right? I was just like, managing events and so on. So there were guiding signs. So again, in consulting terms, theoretically there, but not sure if this would really manifest into execution.
Yeah.
So finally it did. So there was a little bit of self-validation that, I could execute medium-term or mid-scale projects which involve decent budgets and all of that.
Yeah.
However, in doing 4-5 of those, both of us also realized that उसमें intellectual stimulation उतना नहीं है. And of course, I'm not even kidding. I have had many ekdam like to like made in heaven जैसे experiences that they've had with me, and I watched it after I went through all this.
Yeah.
So it's very complex. Patriarchal systems, you see the point. Like I used to get irritated by very small things as well. So I realized that both mentally, like emotionally and intellectually,
Yeah.
this was not stimulating, or in fact something I
did not
particularly enjoy. So I realized कि ऐसे नहीं हो पाएगा balance कि इधर intellectual stimulation, इधर creative stimulation. I realized कि my ikigai lies in someone which is the intersection of strategy, execution and creativity. And then I just started when I realized this, I genuinely wrote down 10 things that I thought I could do. I have an Excel, by the way, which has as rows the 2-3 things I could do within Bain, 2-3 things I could do outside Bain, but in a corporate, things I can start of my own creative venture. And it ranged from being in Netflix, like being in a content company like Netflix, to studying the psychology of fashion as a type of topics, to being an influencer, to doing nothing. Like it had everything. 10 things that I could do. And I rated it on the 4 principles of Ikigai, which is, do I love this? Does the world need this? Am I good at this? And does this pay? I literally
rated them
1 to 5, rated each one.
Where does Netflix rate? I want to know. What is the rate?
So वो एक line of content company and then another line of a mid-size fashion plus, which is fashion plus beauty kind of a company. These were the 2 that came closest to my ikigai, and so I just realized कि ये फिर जो sweet spot है इन companies को seek out करना है. So I applied to Nykaa, I think through a partner at Bain. I applied to Netflix, so again another ex-Bainey at the time and so on. And these were the only 2 again active efforts that I made. And the kid in my team, okay, he's not a kid yet now, but at that time, like he was 1 year into Bain, and I had just told him that I'm looking for something, and he was generally very active on LinkedIn and so on. So he would keep sending me
stuff.
कि अच्छा यहाँ पे ये खुला, यहाँ पे. He was very like well aware and into multiple WhatsApp groups. Amit Shah. So I asked him to send me whatever he thinks was relevant to me.
Yeah.
And I was like a very diligent, lovely person. He would keep sending me, and he would have sent me some 4 or 5 roles which I saw, but I never really reacted to. I didn't make any effort. And I remember the 5th time he pinged me a LinkedIn screenshot, which was a post by Shantanu. And it intrigued because it was a post. And he wrote with that to say ki this description sounds exactly like. The post was literally, I need someone with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things about them, etc. And literally when I read it, it felt like this was just like
that was you.
Humanization of me as a person.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah. So this was like felt कि इतना कैसे match हो रहा है, and B, the poor thing had इसके पहले send me 4 things which I hadn't acted upon. So I felt I owe it to the sincere. मेरे job के लिए मैं तो बिल्कुल fight नहीं मारी, कोई और इंसान fight मारा. The least I can do, and this is very easy. I just have to ping someone.
Yeah, to interview.
That's it.
Yeah.
Very little effort. And the name of the company was Bombay Shaving Company. And I studied in IIT Bombay. So I thought,
it's in Bombay.
That worst case Bombay mein hoga. And I used to live in Bangalore, which I loved. My best friend, like my whole ecosystem, my dance group, my best friend, everyone were in Bangalore, and the weather, and I'm like, I need good weather and everything. I'm like, chalo, worth speaking to this person.
Yeah.
And Bombay है, मतलब ठीक है देख लेंगे कुछ हुआ तो. Bombay I can tolerate. And I hated Delhi. I still do to a great extent, but it's just how the mind works. Now I'm better. But
I like that you're giving excuse. So don't leave the city.
So yeah, so again,
Wow.
serendipity. I could have this could have been the fifth thing I would have ignored.
Yeah.
Nothing would have changed. The difference was it wasn't a JD, it was a LinkedIn post. The activation energy or like the effort that I needed to take to get to him was very low. So I pinged him. He pinged me back. The first conversation we had, I had to end it in 5 minutes. I had an emergency with my flatmate at home and I said, oops, I am so sorry. And he also, this call was going at some 12 a.m. at like 12 midnight.
Yeah.
So, and utne baje I said, sorry, I need to cut this call by and तो मैं 5 minute में निकल रही. And I think it was March 20th, 22nd and he got busy in your end. In April, like 1 month later, we spoke again and so on. And then after 2 conversations, I realized that this God-forsaken company is in Delhi. But yeah, so here I am. I guess the role and the potential of Ikigai for me was outweighed the sadness of the from Bangalore. So yeah, that's how Bombay Shaving Company happened again.
What has been of course, I mean, you've launched their women's brand, right? It was called BSC Women. You were actually one of our first clients, by the way, for YOSO. But BSC Women say Bombay. How has that, because it's your first entrepreneurial experience, so to say, right? How has, you think how has it changed you as a professional woman, I would say? And a second, what is the hard part of doing this job?
So, in terms of how it has changed me, I think 3 big things. One is, of course, all of this is aided a lot by theoretical or to some extent actual learnings at Bain, but one big thing is problem solving at scale. Like that was problem solving. This is now problem solving at scale.
Yeah.
Being accountable, not just for the business, but for yourself and the team that you built out. And it's just beyond metrics and outcome, right? It's really like you are managing, and my full team is women. I'm managing multiple emotions at all time. And it's a very interesting space and experience, but accountability to an extent where I already feel like I have like some 10 children. So I feel like this sudden majority in decision making, in choices that otherwise I don't think I would have had. And I think the third big thing is general risk taking. If the consulting as a job is very risk averse, technically you are not, but you don't have skin in the game. And secondly, women as a gender is also very risk averse, right? We are not trained or coached in general to think big. We are not, like, whatever I think was the biggest, was let's say what Shantanu thinks is the biggest, that difference is 2 universes, right?
Agreed.
The biggest will be क्या है सपना, तो मैं कुछ ऐसे इतना मतलब बहुत ही छोटा ambition, which in my head would be very big, because I unfortunately have not been challenged or raised in a way to think कि अच्छा ये भी हो सकता है. मेरे लिए तो zero, especially मेरे तो एकदम zero है, तो मेरे को तो कुछ भी बड़ा ही लगता है. So I think that is the third thing, like risk taking and an appetite to think big. I still don't think I do a very good job of it. I can still be a little more, but really knowing that the sky isn't
You're the limit.
is something that the role teaches you.
Dream big.
Dream big and do daily things you do actually take you closer to it. You see it manifesting. You see a brand like it's literally like it was a fetus and now it is like so now like it's come out and then it will hopefully grow. And sometimes with toddlers it gets very painful. I think we are in अपने terrible tools. कैसा होगा? The first year handle नहीं हो रहा है. Has given me many sleepless nights. That also answers your second part. But if I were to like really pinpoint on the hard part, One, I think you're always on. It takes a lot to build something of your own, and of course, this is nothing new. Every conversation you had would tell you this, but you genuinely are always on. You, even if you think you can switch off, there will be a part of you that will always be thinking, observing, or if you make a this thing. So I think that is one thing which, if not channeled well, can take a lot of your energy.
Yeah.
Second hard part is it's very lonely. Because no matter, of course, you'll have people who would have similar experiences, but no one really is experiencing what you are experiencing. And of course, like, my peers are exceptional, they really understand. But I think the combination of being a woman to leading this, there are so many ups and downs in our emotional and physical selves as well, right?
Yeah.
So I think sometimes it can get extremely lonely, and to an extent that you get self-critical, a lot of self-doubt obviously keeps looming, because sometimes you're expecting certain outcomes and they don't happen. And you are the only person who you can hold accountable. And women in general are very internalizing of issues. So when something bad happens, you ask a guy what has happened, you ask a woman the same thing, what has happened. The guy will blame everything in the surroundings.
Yeah. And the woman will
see, there were these 10 things. The woman will actually take in what probably would have been her mistake, but also like the collective, कि उस दिन बारिश हो रही थी, उस दिन earthquake आया, ये सारी भी मेरी ही गलती है, etc. कि मैंने ये प्लान नहीं किया, ये होता तो ये होता, etc. So I think that one thing gets extremely taxing at times, that being alone in the journey, and also like then further aggravating it by holding yourself on a very high sense of accountability. And I think the third hard thing is, and this is for me because it was a transition from consulting, is that there is a complete opposite of structure in the surround.
Oh God, yeah.
So in the early parts, and I think I'm still okay with handling it, because also I had a lot of control, so I could build those structures and so on. But I think in the beginning, just the lack of a baseline, and probably having a lot of people who have a great intent but might not have like the greatest training or coaching like they have in consulting to be able to make fast, smart, actionable decisions. I am actually used to speaking in a particular way in consulting, like this is how you put 10 consultants in a room, they'll all be speaking in the same manner and all, and it is irritating if you look at it from the outside. So I think that was third, thoda consulting relevant. But yeah, these were the three.
Contextually, tell me, you started from zero, of course, Bombay. What is what are the numbers? How big is the company today according to you, or the brand, revenue wise, customer wise?
So actually, technically, when I started, we still had products under Bombay Shaving Company which were catering to women. So when I came in, we first transitioned into Bombay Shaving Company women, and we realized that it's a unromantic name and no one will be able to relate. So then we moved to Bombay. But I think today we are about 20% of the overall business.
Wow.
And the objective is for it to become like a 40 to 50% contributor in the next 4 to 5 years. So that is the objective. It's a great space to be in. I think we have the gods in our favor, and the universe generally is in my favor at least. So definitely we're on a good track. But I think again, given the hard parts of the previous thing that I've told you, it feels that we are probably not going as fast as we can. But I think we have built a good child.
That is so difficult, right? Female leaders, that's the hard part, right? You actually start treating the brand as a baby. So tell me, best place to work for a woman leader, what does that look like?
For a woman leader, for a woman
leader. Because भाई मेरे को तो belief है कि जितनी women होंगी leaders, better world for women वैसे ही आएगा. So be it in politics, be it in entrepreneurship, it has to be. Yeah.
Okay, I think and I might pause in between.
Yeah.
बाद में कर लेना आप लोग for two.
हाँ.
One is where a woman can cry freely. I think emoting or cry. I'm using crying as a proxy for general emoting, but being genuine about
What they're
what
feeling.
you're feeling, be it, and being very comfortable, and the surrounding being very comfortable to cry. I think the most mature of men don't know how to handle when a woman is crying in front of them. And it's not because they don't want to, it's because they have just never seen it. They have not seen tears in a professional workplace. So I think one very important destigmatization needs to be of crying or emoting, or just attaching positive words to emotional presentation. So for example, like many a times when a man gets angry, that's good because he's passionate. A woman gets angry, but that anger quickly translates into then immediately internalizing, tearing up, etc. Then that feels emotional, which emotional doesn't have to be a negative adjective. So one is that. I think that will play a huge role. Second is share of voice being equal. Again, this has to be played by both parties. Women themselves also don't speak up a lot. So again, it has to be enabled by women leaders speaking up a lot, and then that share of voice being heard as much, internalized as much, which I think is changing in general, because bachpan se schools mein etc. Then when you have equal number of people, it anyway shows. But I think that share of voice being equal, or even being over balance in the direction of more women speaking and letting them speak without feeling judged. I think women think a lot before speaking up, making a point, etc.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is a very weird thing. I won't be able to articulate it. Is that then today when I ask you to close your eyes and imagine a leader, most people, maybe you are very low, but most people will imagine someone in a suit, someone who's suave, who's leading things in a particular way, who has this particular kind of voice, etc. So they're very
Stereotypes.
stereotypical norms. So if I ask someone to sketch it out and you describe to them, even women, most people will describe them in a certain way. The true ideal place is that when they close their eyes and when they envisage, at least 50% of that envisaging has to be, can be like a curly haired woman, can be like even the women. Even if I ask you to imagine a woman leader, you will imagine like very Indra Nooyi.
That is really good because history se chale aa raha hai, right? Ki females had to dress a certain way, be a certain way to be, even to work. Forget being a leader.
And I hate it. So I ensure that I look like a peacock in every meeting that I go. And like, look at me. So I really I ensure that I challenge it. Through that, you actually start seeing then other women feeling comfortable in the way they are dressing. And then it, kind of passes on. So I think feeling comfortable in your own skin is the beginning of everything. And of course, having allies who really rally behind you. Small things make a difference. Like if you're going to an investor meeting, ensuring that the woman introduces herself first. In some cases, you'll have to overcorrect. Ensuring that if you are addressing, I've had presentation in which I am addressing, but then they ask a question looking at Shantanu, but then Shantanu comes back and directs to me, etc. Right? So all of these things do make a difference.
Yeah.
So little things from everywhere make a difference. And of course, on the receiving side of people who are actually have female bosses, be it men or women, I think they have a higher bar of expectation. Maybe there is a mismatch of also having like a motherly expectation from them. So there's a general expectation which is higher, which means you tend to be unfair at times to your boss as well. So I think that is one cognizance that people who are working with you also need to show that kindness to you.
I mean, in fact, a couple of things that have come up in different interviews is just that allies. Very important, and I don't think all of us have so that you can call privilege.
Yeah. Having allies.
So we have come to the last part, which is that you have to write an opinion from society that you would love to throw in the dustbin. It could be towards the women leaders, it could be towards women, whatever you want it to be.
I were to like put, I will just put on the blank. Because really like noise cancels them, so I don't have anything. I can just
Yes, just throw, That's also fine. I think that's such a good point. Just be a basketball player. But sure, this has happened every single time. This is so pretty. Wow, that's such a pretty time. This has happened every single time when you're on the set. That I'm like, throw it in the dustbin, and the person is like, and all the best for like making a huge brand, man. I mean, the dream is really like, that is my personal dream. It has come up very recently in my purpose of life, is that touch as many women leaders' lives as possible and maybe like witness them succeed. So you're on that list.
Thank you for watching season 1. Tell me, what was your favorite moment and who was your favorite guest? I would love to bring so many more Bitchaaris on season 2. Tell me their names. Who would you like to watch next? And we will see you in no time, if we can afford it, of course. So you will of course have to share, like, comment, subscribe, because that's what it takes to do this. Thank you.